behaving disgustingly. For example, ladies wearing silhouette skirts, so, boys coming out, you know, just going through their years, having 2 years, going out enjoying themselves. The cars were pull up, and they see autistic people that went on for about 10 to 12 years, and it only took probably 1998 for I honestly realised it all orchestrated and it took me that they were implementing law on our streets.
Are the hockey stick beatings still going on?
To be fair, but something must have happened. I don't know what, but something like they must have been pulled in the main boss.
Since when they done that when they done the protest against the soldiers, that was the turning point we feel in our town. We had our first demonstration, and on our second demonstration there was 500, 600, 700 of young lads, all English. It was the first time English people took to the streets and said enough is enough here. We're not having it anymore. Every estate feels it. Every estate knows what's going on. We're being beaten back by Muslims, militant Muslims. We have been for 10 years. And then when people took to the streets, I know that there was one of their main mosques was blown up. And basically, I think they felt the heat and the backlash. And then all the moderate Muslims started coming out and saying how they started condemning the extremists, which they hadn't done for 10 to 15 years. They started coming out and uniting against the extremists. But we said that it's 10 years too late. And you're coming out now because you've felt heat and backlash for 6 weeks because of what happened to our soldiers. So our community has been giving you a backlash for 6 weeks. We have been receiving a religious onslaught backlash for 10 to 15 years.
Yeah. And we felt the silence of the so-called moderate voice in Islam in our town. The silence of it we felt after the catalyst was the soldiers. We felt the silence was they were condoning what was going on. The silence became unbearable in the end. And basically,
the soldiers was a final straw. Everyone said enough's enough. We don't care. We'll go on the streets. We'll get arrested. Whatever happens, we don't care. We're not. That was everyone said it. It hits everyone personal. It has done. Everyone's had run into what's gone on. But when they done that to soldiers who have been out, lost comrades, fighting at the war, putting their life on the line for the freedom of them Muslims as well, and then to come back and meet that sort of welcoming, I think it was the final straw. It seems to have been for a lot of the country when that happened. Because the fact is they were allowed to do it, and the council allowed them to do it. Because the council were that scared of saying no, you can't do it, because they won't say no to them. And then you also have to look at our local council. 30% of the MPs in our local council are Muslim. So was it a Muslim who made the decision to allow them to have that protest against our soldiers? Or was it a Muslim? And then when we applied for St George's Day Parade, which is our Saints' Day, we applied for a parade in our own town on our Saints' Day, St George's Day in England, and they said, no, you're not allowed. So you're not allowed to march on your Saints' Day, you're not allowed anything. So then you have to ask yourself, was it a Muslim in Luton Borough Council who made that decision? Are Muslim, have Al-Qaeda sympathisers infiltrated our council? And how many councils across our country now have got Muslims, people, sitting on it in MPs making decisions for them towns, political decisions as to, let's close down that church and open it as a mosque. Who's making them decisions? Are they Muslims? Because it seems that they've got into the infrastructure of the country through voting. And now, who's voicing our concerns? Who's our voice for our community? Now everyone says about all the racial things and the BNP and that. How can any of us stand and agree with the BNP when some of our best friends are here who are black and the BNP won't let a black man join? But at the same time, who's going to voice our concerns, our family's concerns for militant Islam that's taken over our town? Because as soon as anyone speaks up against it, they're called a racist. So it's like we're pressed into silence about it all.
So basically, you have three factors going against you: the militant Islamists who want to set you up, the police who will not adapt, and the local council who has decided to favor the Islamists in England.
Yeah, basically, it's just a fact. When the Muslims have done that, done their attack on our soldiers, 10 of them done it. They done it, and then we held our protest 4 weeks later. After our first protest, they kicked all of our doors off, which we did. They done us all on the parade, and they arrested us in public order square. They kicked our doors off at 5 o'clock in the morning. They come in our family's houses, they dragged us out of our bed, and they arrested us for swearing. And then they gave us banning orders from our local town centre, 24 hours a day, because they didn't want us at any future marches. They arrested one person from every estate in our town, because every estate was in the town centre. They arrested one person in order to put fear into all the estates, to think go to the next one because we're going to get arrested. Then 2 days after that, just to be politically correct, they then arrested the Muslims who protested against our soldiers. Now, they protested against our soldiers 4 weeks before our march. So why were we arrested first, kicked off our doors? We already know that they wouldn't kick their doors off. So they politely knocked on their doors, took their shoes off, asked their women to cover their head, and then walked in their houses. But they come around our mums and dads' houses, with our babies in our houses, and kick our doors off for standing in our own town centre to condemn extremism.
And they arrested people, what?
The public order saying in the town centre, let us fucking march. They come around and booted our doors off for that. We all knew. No, they've dropped all the charges on everyone they arrested. It was just a pure fear factor. Let's scare them into shutting up. But it didn't work. It just made people think more like, well, we're not going to shut up because there is a problem in our town and someone needs to voice the concern because it's a mathematical fact. 10 years ago in Luton there may have been 50 extremists. Now, because they've been allowed to run around the town doing whatever, preaching whatever without no one stopping them, there's 500. Another 10 years there'll be 5,000. If every father is bringing up their children, if they've got 10 kids, if they support Al-Qaeda, their 10 children will support Al-Qaeda. And they're breeding and bringing them up militant to hate us. None of us in our communities are brought up to hate any other community.
We
not
brought our children
tolerant
to say Paki was a swear word. My generation brought their children up to say Paki was a swear word. And we were unaware that they were bringing their children up, calling us kafurs. We were unaware of that. Their children were taught that from the age of 3. I think people need to know that we are bringing our children up correctly, not being racist, being able to communicate with other people, other religions, people with codes of society. People do need to know. Not everybody out there is doing the same.
I take it Paki is short for Pakistan.
Pakistan, but it's seen as a racial slur.
You'd be arrested for saying
Be
it.
arrested for saying it.
So you call someone from India an Indian.
You'll be arrested for saying the word Paki?
Yeah.
By who?
By the police.
It's against the law.
By the way,
Is it against the law to say infidel or kafir?
no, that's entirely my point, what I was trying to make. We were teaching our children the wrongs. We were teaching them the rights and not to do the wrongs. However, basically, then there's been a swing round now where they actually are wearing shirts, the Muslims are wearing shirts with the word Paki written on it. So we don't want to say that word, but if we were to say that word, then we'll be arrested. However, if a Pakistani calls us kafur in front of a police officer, he's not arrested.